So I thought I would talk all about Hunter Biden.
Oh, good.
Because he's a very naughty boy, isn't he? Far from being the Messiah, he's a very, very naughty boy, it seems.
I only know this because of the things that Hunter Biden himself has allowed to fall into the public domain.
Yeah, against his better judgment. He's so... The laptop thing, the details of it, so dumb. If anyone doesn't know, he just took his own laptop to a repair shop and forgot about it, it seems, through some sort of fog of drug-addled insanity, forgot he'd taken his laptop to a repair shop.
That was full of incriminating evidence, such as videos, photos, and emails. That really, he didn't want to fall into the hands of Rudy Giuliani, the Trump campaign.
Or Steve Bannon.
And they did.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We'll talk a bit more about the laptop towards the end, I think, because this is something slightly different. Despite a good few years of wrangling now, well over 3 years of the actual Justice Department looking at Mr. Biden, Hunter Biden, there's two things. One is allegations of fraud, tax evasion, various money issues to do with whether he either just didn't pay a certain amount of tax or where his income came from. So that's something different, and he will be going on trial, criminal trial in September for that.
Right.
This is a completely different case. Well, they were sort of connected in terms of trying to do a plea deal and stuff. But anyway, completely different issue was he got in trouble for lying on documents about getting a gun.
Really? That's interesting. I've never bought a gun in America, but I bet they ask you questions like, are you an alcoholic? Are you a drug addict?
Are you a convicted felon? Are you currently on parole?
There are going to be lots of questions that I bet he didn't answer honestly.
Are you clinically insane?
Yeah.
So gun laws in America, every state is very different. Every state's very different. But up in Wilmington, it's Delaware where they're from, isn't it? Yeah, Delaware's the place. So, you had to sign to get just a pistol. He tried to buy a 38 Special little revolver, little nickel-plated, quite a nice little pistol. And on the thing, you have to declare that you're not a drug addict. And he said, I'm not. Now, he was certainly on drugs. Even his own defence team don't claim that he was clean. He doesn't claim he was clean. He's just saying, I wasn't actually an addict.
Right. So we're into the fine details.
Yeah.
Well, look, I was taking drugs every day, but I wasn't addicted.
Maybe that was the day where he'd accidentally stumbled across some Parmesan cheese rather than a crack rock, and so technically he might have been sober when filling out the form at the time.
I was just so desperate for crack, I mistook cheese for it and smoked that. I mean, I'm not an addict. Okay, Hunter.
Well, that is the thing. So in his own memoir, he's talked fairly candidly about his struggles with substances. And again, his own defence team, or he's not even trying to claim that he was completely clean and sober at that point. He was smoking crack, I believe or cocaine as well.
Yeah.
Or crack cocaine. So anyway.
Lots of drugs.
Yeah, okay.
Probably lots of different drugs.
So he bought this pistol. Again, why he felt the need necessarily to buy a 38 Special Colt Cobra. It's a nice little pistol.
I'm sure it's lovely.
But why he suddenly needs one?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't for sort of practice or just sport, or he liked to shoot or anything like that. He never shot the gun, he alleges. There's no evidence he actually ever even tried shooting it or anything like that. So anyway, that's not the point. You're allowed to own a gun.
Sure.
It's not a problem. So he only owned it for about 11 days when his sister-in-law, his dead brother Bo, his wife, Haley, I think her name was, Haley.
Isn't that the one he ended up getting with as well?
Well, apparently they had a brief, tumultuous tryst. I don't want to speculate on that.
Man of such sterling character.
Yeah. But just all sorts of grief and weirdness going on. I don't want to necessarily judge him for that, but I will actually. It's weird. Anyway, moving on. She found the gun, like 11 days later, just in his car.
Yeah. She
just found it. She took it upon herself to just take it to the dumpsters round the back of some local Wilmington, stores, and just put it in a dumpster.
I hope no one finds this gun in the dumpster. Yeah. That's weird.
So she did that. I don't know whether it was she felt to protect him from himself or whatever, or this guy just doesn't need access to a revolver right now. Maybe that was her thinking. But either way, I feel like that was actually probably maybe a crime. Are you allowed to do that? Are you
Well,
allowed
that's
to just-
theft, right? I mean,
right, yeah, theft
the
in
very
the first
minimum.
place. But also, it's dangerous because a kid could have found it, or whoever, who knows? I mean, it's unlikely little kids going through dumpsters finds a 38 special,
I don't know.
sources the ammo for it, and then accidentally shoots someone or themselves. Could happen,
But-
unlikely. But
Otherwise, she looks like she's arming the homeless or something, doesn't she? You know? Like,
It is irresponsible gun ownership.
It's
Let's put it that
absolutely,
way.
yeah.
whatever happened, her doing that was irresponsible on her part. Anyway, the crime they're trying to get Biden for, Hunter Biden, is lying on that thing. So he says, look, I may or may not have been high as a kite for those 11 days, but I was not an addict. And that's the letter of the law. Like, prove I was an addict.
Well, it's in your memoirs, Hunter.
Well, yeah, he's claiming at that point he'd already sort of largely got clean, although obviously not completely. Like, was not claiming he was sober. He's just saying I wasn't actually addicted though. I'd been to various rehab things and I'd put things in place. And sure, I was still smoking, but I'm not actually an addict, so I haven't done anything wrong. So it ended up boiling down to them arguing about what is the nature of being an addict, and does Hunter fall into that definition?
Well, someone who admits that they were an addict, but now I'm not an addict, I just smoke it recreationally or whatever. That's an addict. That's an addict in denial.
Right,
actually.
yeah.
And I'm not taking any counter arguments to the contrary.
I'm only a crackhead on the weekends, is genuinely his.
I can stop drinking whenever I want. Yeah, it's like, can you? Anyway, so I called this bit Hunter in the dock, but actually he was never in the dock, or the witness stand, rather. His defence team chose not to put him on, which again is very
shaking,
telling.
I guess.
Yeah, he's putting the crack pipe away as he gets on the stand. No, it's very telling because usually, it's not always the case. It's not fair to say this is always the case, but usually the defence won't put you on because it's not in their interest to. You're going to bugger up. There's too many cracks in your story, or you just don't.
Poor choice of words.
There's too many crack rocks in your story, and you just don't come off as credible. You don't come off as believable or nice or anything like that.
Well, do you know
that's usually why they do that?
Do you not remember the ABC interview where he admitted that he shouldn't have been on the board of Burisma, and if it wasn't for his surname, he wouldn't have been in there? I mean, that's another reason why you wouldn't want him on the stand. It's just like, well, he might just come out and admit the thing because he's actually obviously not that bright.
Also, if he had to be on the witness stand, would he not have been subjected to a drug test
or cross-examination?
Well,
I don't know. Definitely cross-examination.
That could be because the prosecuting party could have requested one, and given there was that recent case, I can't remember what it was for. It might have been Thanksgiving, where they found a bag of cocaine smuggled into the inside of the White House.
Oh yeah, I wonder whose that was.
It could have only been someone who didn't go through security clearance, which means friends or family of the Bidens themselves.
Who in the White House would be taking loads of cocaine?
Surely Jill. It could well be he isn't quite clean at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, because the incident itself is back from 2018, so all the drug tests now would do is see if he's still using or whatever.
Yeah,
which he probably is.
But I mean, who knows about that? So yeah, he wasn't called as a witness in his own defence, which is a little bit suspicious. Not necessarily always, but still a bit weird.
A tactical maneuver.
Yeah. So the question is really, was he an addict? Now, right now, as we speak, the jury are deliberating. So for a start, it's a jury case. And, I mean, you can never really tell what a jury are going to decide, really. It's one of those things. It sort of is in the lap of the gods. His defence team, as you could probably sort of imagine, tried to argue that, one, he wasn't an addict, so he should be let off just in and of itself, just on the strength of that. But also, it's Trump's fault. And it's Republicans, and they're weaponising the Justice Department, Joe Biden's Justice Department.
Oh yeah.
Somehow Trump and the Republicans have weaponised that.
Very persuasive.
And it's all unfair. And this kid, this poor didn't do nothing kid, is being demonised for the crimes of his father and all that sort of thing, all that sort of nonsense.
It was actually Trump administration policy that Hunter had to bang Russian hookers. I hear. Really. Just absurd. There you go.
The problem is Trump is just interfering with his under-the-table deals with China and Russia. And
well, just before we move on to that, just to finish up, because I do want to talk about that as well, just to finish up on the gun thing, he's on 3 different charges, federal charges, could potentially get 25 years. Even if he is found guilty, and in my mind it's a 50-50 whether he will be, but if he is, he'll probably won't get a custodial sentence. The judge will probably give him a slap on the wrists. Yeah. But who knows? He could get a big custodial sentence. I put very good money on that he won't.
Yeah, I would.
And he might, and it's 50-50 whether he'll be found guilty at all. The other case in September, that's the big show. This one's a bit of a, not a joke, it's federal gun charges. But right? Yeah, this is sort of and a moose-bouche for the big show in September, which, because this case was all done in a few days flat. Just to mention, earlier on I mentioned about the possibility of a plea deal. What they tried to do, this was like, a year ago or so, or over 6 months ago, they tried to do some sort of deal with both these. Everything he's been charged with all at once. Yep. One big deal with the Justice Department. And it looked like it was going to be, they were just going to basically drop the gun drop the gun charges. He was going to admit to like sort of doing something wrong, but he didn't really know he was doing anything wrong when it comes to the money side. And it was just going to be a big, massive slap on the wrist. And he certainly wouldn't get any jail time if he admitted to little things here and there. And then particularly the right-leaning establishment, or Fox News and Trumpers and all sorts of people, most normal people with their right mind, were like, you can't. That is a real travesty of justice. You can't do this. That is no one would get such a sweet deal normally. No one dream of anything close to that degree of sweetness in a deal being struck. And eventually, even a judge, I think it was a Trump-appointed judge, said, no, we're not doing that. That plea deal's ridiculous. We're going to trial. And so here we are. But before I carry on just about the Burisma and Russia and China and things, it is interesting though, isn't it, to see the cogs of justice turn in different countries, how they deal with it. And America is interesting because, if, for example, the Justice Department was completely a thing of the Bidens, this wouldn't have happened, would it? Now, they're definitely using it to weaponize against Trump.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a minute.
And also, it's sort of the way it's always been. It's quite difficult throughout all of history to make the justice system completely divorced from politics or from culture or anything. It's very, very, very difficult, almost impossible thing to do. Still, you want to get as close to it as you can. But yeah, like the Justice Department is the FBI, and albeit very, very, very slowly, has brought cases against Hunter Biden. So you can't say, as lame as it is, and as long as it's taken, you can't say that they're completely...
No, but the problem I have, though, is this... I don't know how to... Like, this sort of tidal force, maybe, where it's been very, very difficult to get to this point. Because the evidence against Hunter Biden has been so overwhelmingly, well, look, he's a crackhead, he's taking foreign money, and... I've seen some bizarre photos of him on Twitter that are definitely worthy of investigation, and it's taken a long time to get to this point where a Trump judge has got to be like, no, we are going to do something about this. Right? Whereas when it comes to the people on the other side, yes, constant lawfare against these people to the point where it's actually getting quite ridiculous. But we'll cover that in a minute. And so
think about what's just happened with Steve Bannon, for example.
We'll cover it in a minute. We'll cover it in a minute.
Oh yeah, just to be clear, I'm not saying it's fair.
No.
Or
exactly.
Now they're prosecuting Biden, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no issues with I'm definitely not saying that.
They're just, there's such an intrinsic bias in the justice system towards the Democrats and away from the Republicans. It's just so evidently not fair. And so it is a miracle that it's got to this point, to be honest. You are right.
Yeah, they did try everything in their power for it not to.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Yeah, they did. They 100%. Did pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
That's quite often the way you'll come up against a particular judge and it's all sort of at their discretion quite often. And if you get a judge in the right mind, in the right mindset, I mean, that's what happened with Nixon and the Watergate tapes. And the whole Watergate scandal is eventually they came up against a judge who was actually a Republican, a lifelong Republican, but was just for the law, straight down the line, sort of 1,000% for the law. And he just couldn't not bring things to trial and couldn't bring himself to omit key bits of evidence. And so eventually the truth came out. Again, as I said in the last segment, it's difficult really for the truth not to come out largely in the end about most things.
After enough time has elapsed.
Yeah, I mean, not everything, of course, but... So quickly moving on then. Biden has said that if Hunter is convicted of felony charges, he won't pardon him, presidential pardon, when Joe comes to leave office. I'm not sure.
I don't believe it.
Presidents quite often say they won't, and then literally on their last day in office, they pardon all their buddies.
Yeah.
That's been done a whole bunch of times. I won't put that past Sleepy Joe. Not in a million years.
Assuming he lives that long.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he will.
In his will, say to Kamala, make sure to pardon Hunter on your last day. Okay, so just then to say the upcoming thing in September, that's much, much more serious, because this is just sort of this gun thing. It's sort of silliness and drug-addled antics.
Yeah.
It's a footnote, right, in history.
It's quite trivial.
Yeah, right. And really, if that Haley Biden hadn't have dropped it in a dumpster, it might not have been a thing at all.
Yeah.
But the money stuff is something like he had $1.5 million of income, and this is going back to the years, I think, 2017, 2018 sort of time. And it's alleged that he's sort of failed to pay something in the order of 100 grand's worth of tax on that. And that's, from what I know, and I might be wrong when the trial happens and we find out all the details and things, but I think that's fairly slam dunk, black and white. He just didn't pay some taxes he should have done.
He's going to get Al Capone, does he?
Well, that's the thing. So sometimes they just say, well, at the end of the trial, they're just like, right, you're going to pay that like right now. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of other fees and fines and things you're going to pay. Or, they go Al Capone or Wesley Snipes.
Right. Yeah,
they're like, no, we don't want your money anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to federal prison. No, you keep your money. You're going in the slammer. I doubt they would. That's what they did to Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes owed silly money. And at the end, he was found guilty. And he's like, okay, I'll pay. And they're like, too late for that, Wesley. I don't know what they'll do with Hunter, but if I suspect he might be in trouble with that secondary case. It does look kind of bad for him, and it's not even like sort of where it came from. So the Burisma thing.
Yeah, I'm worried about where the money comes from, really. Like, I don't care if he doesn't pay tax. Tax sucks.
Because the question is, why would anyone give know-nothing crackhead Hunter Biden loads of money? He's of no use. He's no good to anybody, is he?
His dad was vice president. That's
right.
10% for the big guy.
The big guy.
They shared bank accounts. I think at one point they shared a phone number or something, didn't they?
What wasn't Joe Biden making him give him money as well?
Yes.
Like just like there was a text from him complaining that his dad makes him give him money. Yeah. It's like, good God.
Well, also in the texts, and this is something that should be investigated adjacent to all of the obvious drug crimes which he's doing on camera, abuse in the family, because we now have Ashley Biden's diary. In those texts, he nicknamed his own dad Pedo Peter. And then Hunter himself, there were texts between him and Jill about untoward advances on his niece, who was about 14, I think.
Really?
So all of this is established as evidence, and nobody's interested in touching it. Very strange.
Well, that's the last thing I was going to say, as you alluded to. There are images out there of Hunter Biden seemingly in compromising situations with young ladies who appear to be far, far, far too young for the age of consent.
Yeah.
They're just out there. Whether the FBI and the Justice Department will take it upon themselves to investigate that fully, who knows?
Yeah. The fact that he's getting done for tax evasion, whatever it is.
That's the thing, tax fraud or
whatever it is,
the crux of it is that Joe Biden himself is potentially compromised, because when he's gone on record a bunch of times, he says, I know nothing about my son's business deals. I know nothing, literally nothing, about all his money issues. Now, that, again, seems anecdotally, seems to have been shown that's just not the case. That cannot be the case. So then, if Hunter Biden has taken money from God knows who for God knows what reason, it's kind of obviously that it's to get access to the idea of pay to play, getting access to the big guy. I mean, it's fairly straightforward, right? It's not really sort of an elaborate web of deceit. It's just
I mean, it's really weird as well, because there was a Chinese company who paid him millions. There was the fact that he's on the board of Burisma with no skills is obviously just a sort of connection. But didn't the wife of the mayor of Moscow give him $3 million as well? It's like, what? It's such a bizarre web But it's, this is not the stuff that he's being charged for. This is not like anything, none of the disgusting stuff. It's the fact that, it's tax fraud. Because, that doesn't really come with a great deal of moral baggage, right? So, he didn't pay his tax. Oh, based, okay. That's, I hate taxes too.
Libertarian hero Hunter Biden.
Yeah, exactly.
He does loads of drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't submit to gun background checks. Doesn't pay his taxes.
Yeah, and so
questionable in the age of consent.
Yeah.
Libertarian hero.
So it's getting him on all the wrong charges for my liking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I would like to see. It seems to me, unless it's proven in court that on the money side of things he's completely innocent and genuinely did nothing wrong. If that's shown, then okay, so be it. But I doubt that will be the case. And if it's not, I'd like to see him go away for a long, long time and his father disgraced and perhaps prosecuted. And then after all of that, investigate the allegations of underage sex, because it seems to be there. There's just evidence, right?
Yeah, there's photos of him. I guess you'd call them child prostitutes.
God knows who they are.
Yeah.
Trafficked kids.
God knows who they
exactly.
are.
The correct term, trafficked children.
You can show your face in public, and just pretend you're sort of
it's wild,
normal or whatever.
It's just the absolute corrosion of his soul is just mad.
And it clearly flows from the top if it's the same with Ashley Biden, Hunter Biden. I also heard that Beau Biden, when he was alive, worked to get a convicted paedophile out of prison.
Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah. Weird that.
I'm ashamed to share a name with the man. He even spells it the same way as I do.
Oh, no.
It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
But okay, I guess we'll move on from Hunter Biden because maybe I'll talk about it again later in the week or in September when the other trial comes up, because the jurors should be returning a verdict any moment, perhaps today.
Oh, really?
But they're actually in deliberations right now, as I understand. So we'll see.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see more of what we're doing, what you want to do is pre-order this lovely magazine, Islander. It's on our merch store, which you can find on our website. Make sure to get it because it's a limited run thing. And if you want to see what else we're up to, you can follow us on Twitter where we share everything else. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.